Meantime, it's a New Mexico staple. Every year, farmers harvest thousands of tons of chili.
And every year, the industry brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars for the state. But some companies are capitalizing off New Mexico's good name. Now lawmakers are stepping in to put it to a stop. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is here with all the details. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, the word hatch is known around the world. Thousands gather for their annual festival, and chili enthusiasts recognize the word as a standard for quality. But these days, you can't always be sure you're getting the real deal. People ask for it by name.
It's a big part of what draws people to New Mexico in the first place.
Hatch chili. It's been making New Mexicans proud for generations. Known for its flavor and heat, it's an ideal condiment. But not all chili is as it seems.
This is an issue that we've been fighting here in New Mexico for the last 25 years or more.
Hatch Chili store founder Preston Mitchell is talking about mislabeled Hatch chili. He says it's a big problem and a serious threat to farmers.
Japanese company are able to buy chili for $100 a ton less coming out of Mexico. That's significantly more than the margin on a ton of chili. So they're able to buy chili at below a local farmer's cost from Mexico. And if they can turn around and brand it as a New Mexico product or a Hatch product and they're able to charge the same amount at market, it just destroys the demand for actual American grown.
Mitchell and others on the Hatch Chili Association board took the issue to the feds. They don't believe consumers should have to gamble on where their Hatch chili comes from.
To certify Hatch chili such that you can only advertise chili as Hatch chili if it's grown in a specific growing area around Hatch.
The group has a gripe with a company marketing its chili as Hatch, even though it doesn't all come from Hatch, New Mexico. Now, a New Mexico lawmaker is speaking out too.
We want to make sure that we have a set of rulings that really support the idea of locally geographic chili.
U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich says he wants to see more honesty in labeling. He says he's proud of what growers are doing to protect their name. Mitchell says they appreciate support at the federal level, but says their best defense are the laws already on the books meant to protect against false advertising.
I think there just needs to be a little more enforcement.
We spoke to the Hatch Chili Company. They say to accuse them of false advertising is a distortion of the truth. Representatives say the owner of their company has moved to Georgia, but maintains that the majority of their products still come from New Mexico. Plus, they say they are strong supporters of the chili industry here. Their plant is in Deming. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Now, Mitchell says there are not a lot of avenues for businesses to combat others lying about their product. That is, unless they actually do take them to court.
Turning to this, a suspected drunk driver could go before a judge today, accused of hitting another car, causing it to flip nearly a dozen times. It happened near Coors in Montana about 7 o'clock last night. APD says the suspect crashed into the victims from behind. The two victims were taken to a hospital, but they are expected to be okay.
Turn now to this. A busy stretch of I-40 is back to normal this morning after a semi and two cars caused a massive backup on the interstate last night. You might have been tangled up in that. It happened on San Mateo and I-40 westbound. Drivers were forced off the interstate while crews cleaned up. That stretch of the interstate is now running smoothly. This morning, people in Turkey and around the world continue to grieve.
Yeah, that following the worst terror attack in the country's history. At least 95 people were killed on Saturday when suspected suicide bombers set off 2 explosions at a peace rally in Ankara. Turkey's government suspects Kurdish rebels or ISIS militants were responsible, but some remain skeptical.
Also happening today for the first time since a deadly mass shooting at a community college, students will return to class. UCC reopened its campus to students last Monday. Classes were canceled for a week. 9 students were killed back on October 1st when a gunman opened fire before taking his own life. And new this morning, backlash over recommendations that Sergeant Bo Bergdahl be spared the possibility of jail time for leaving his post in Afghanistan. A former member of Sergeant Bergdahl's platoon says he's angered by an Army officer's recommendation that Bergdahl face a lower-level court-martial. Josh Corder, an ex-U.S. Army sergeant, says that Bergdahl should face life in prison. Corder says Bergdahl is to blame for the deaths of several soldiers who searched for him, but the Pentagon says there's no evidence that anyone died searching for Bergdahl. The case now goes up the chain of command. Developing this morning, UNM says it will start trimming its workforce soon. The school says it will not lay anyone off, but won't be filling as many as 100 positions at the university once workers leave or retire. A spokesperson says the move is needed because enrollment continues to decline and because students are graduating faster. About 500 fewer students are attending UNM than a year ago. That's resulting in about $2.3 million less in tuition and student fees.
This morning, environmental groups are asking the federal government to release at least 5 packs of Mexican gray wolves in New Mexico. The groups sent a request to state wildlife officials hoping to bolster the genetics of the endangered predators. The State Game Commission has refused to issue permits to the Fish and Wildlife Service for releases earlier this year. The state has concerns, it says, because the agency has yet to update its recovery plan.
Developers hope to construct a ghost town in southern New Mexico soon, all in the name of science. A company called Pegasus Global Holdings has been trying to build a ghost town. It will cost, get this, $1 billion and look like a regular city, but no one will live there. Instead, it will be used to develop agriculture, energy, and water treatment technologies. Pegasus has struggled to find suitable land to build on. The company says they've secured an area near White Sands and could begin construction this year.
Happening this morning, a local artist is putting the finishing touches on his mural designed to represent Nob Hill. Aaron Stromberg has been working on that mural for a little more than a month. He was chosen to paint it to celebrate Nob Hill's 100th anniversary. This mural represents the area's past and its future.
Give some information so people will know a little bit more about Nob Hill, but at the same time, leave some things open so people will ask questions about the history of Nob Hill and how it's come about.
And he says it's already working. People have been stopping at local businesses and asking a lot of questions. The mural will be unveiled November 7th.
This morning, residents in Florida are still talking about pretty scary moments after a waterspout left behind destruction. The waterspout shifted its way onto a bridge where a Postal Service mail truck got swept into the chaos, blowing mail all over the road right there. The waterspout also did damage to a nearby construction site, and that would be terrifying.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Kristen. So this morning, some Albuquerque parents will once again be looking for backup daycare centers for their kids. This, as they say, they're running out of options ever since the Eastern Child Development Center lost its license and closed its doors. The center's license was suspended after a surveillance video showed a teacher shaking a child. This left many parents outraged, but some say they should not have to suffer because of the actions of one person. In the meantime, other parents are suggesting some big changes by the center to ensure all kids are safe if it does reopen.
Propose to have the video footage reviewed on a daily basis in the infant room. We're also proposing to turn the footage over to CYFD on a weekly basis.
And as for CYFD, it says it is still conducting an investigation into the center. The center will stay closed until that investigation is complete.
Federal offices and courts are closed today in observance of Columbus Day. And as much of the U.S. marks that federal holiday, it's Indigenous Peoples Day in at least 9 U.S. cities, including Albuquerque. Although the city council has declared the change from Columbus Day in the Duke City, activists want other cities to honor the movement too. Protesters plan to gather in March at the intersection of 1st and Central beginning at 5 o'clock this evening.
Turn out to news happening right now. Southwest Airlines says a technical glitch is causing long waits and delayed flights this morning. The issue is forcing workers to check passengers in manually. They're warning if you have a flight this morning to get to the airport 2 hours early with a paper boarding pass. News 13 checked in with travelers at the Sunport yesterday to see if that glitch had any effect on them. Most of them say it wasn't too much of a hassle. Out of 3,600 flights, 450 were delayed yesterday.
As you wake up today, a business owner is facing charges accused of shooting a man over the weekend. According to a criminal complaint, police responded to a shots fired call near Pennsylvania and Central early Saturday. A witness told police that Gino Velasquez, the owner of a nearby mechanic shop, was yelling at a man that she was with and shot him in the shoulder. That victim is expected to be okay.
Turn out to news happening right now. APD is on the hunt for the gunman who opened fire on a driver on the west side last night. Police say it happened near 90th and Blue Water. Officers chased that suspect for a short time, but called off the pursuit because of public safety. We still don't have the description of the suspect or suspects. APD says they are looking for a brown Nissan Titan, which is believed to be the car the suspects were in.
New on this Monday morning, a man is in critical condition after being shot outside AT&T Stadium in Texas last night. It happened after the Cowboys New England Patriots game. Police say they were heading to the parking lot outside the stadium after reports of a fight breaking out, and they heard gunshots and found a man in his early 40s shot on the ground. He was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Officers say the suspected shooter is now in custody, facing aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charges.
Turn now to news happening right now. We're learning more about what the investigation is revealing into that deadly campus shooting in Flagstaff last week. A surviving victim reveals what happened in the moments before shots rang out last Friday.
I was simply turned around and watched a dark figure come out of the shadows, shining a flashlight on my friend. And the next thing I knew, I heard gunshots and I saw them drop to the ground, so I ran over to help.
Terrifying. Nick Prado says 3 of his fraternity brothers were shot. One of them, Colin Brough, he died from his wounds. Prado says he was shot in the neck as he tried to help his friends. Police say the shooting happened after a fight broke out in Northern Arizona University between 2 groups there. The suspect is Stephen Jones, an 18-year-old freshman. Jones is now charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 3 counts of aggravated assault.
Let's turn to a live look in Washington, D.C. this morning, this one at the White House. Republicans on Capitol Hill are starting the week without a clear picture of who will be the next House Speaker. Many in the GOP say they will support former vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan of Wisconsin if he runs. Ryan emerged as a favorite after Representative Kevin McCarthy's surprise announcement that he would not run last week. Some say that Ryan will only take the job if he gets support from all 247 GOP House members. Another candidate in mind, Congressman Daniel Webster of Florida.
Turn out to news happening today. Several presidential candidates are gearing up to court voters in New Hampshire this morning. This as President Obama is cutting Hillary Clinton some slack when it comes to her email server scandal. Yesterday, he told CBS's 60 Minutes Clinton made a mistake by using her personal server when she was Secretary of State, but he says she did not endanger national security. The probe into Clinton's emails and her server security is ongoing.
If you plan to fill up on the way to school or work this morning, you're going to be paying much less than even a few weeks ago. The gas price average has reportedly fallen 52 cents in the last 4 months, but oil prices are rebounding, on track to jump more than 10% this week alone. New data shows the U.S. is slowing down production. There's also concern about fighting in Syria.
This morning, one New Mexico Police Department is getting a whole lot of attention for how it's chipping in to fight breast cancer. Take a look at this. The Farmington Police Department is donning a new look this morning. It's all part of the department's Get Pinked campaign in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Workers at a local salon colored the police chief's hair and even mustache pink. They then took selfies, of course, with him for charity. In all, the department raised $15,000. I love that idea. It looks good on you,
Yeah,
Chief.
good look for sure. Hey, you still have a few weeks left to share your story of life in New Mexico. The State Tourism Department is accepting video entries until the 30th of this month. They're partnering with the New Mexico Film Foundation for a film project about life in New Mexico. New Mexicans are asked to submit a 3-minute clip that is New Mexico true. The videos will then be edited and prizes for the best video will be given out.
We turn on to this news happening right now. The cleanup is beginning this morning in Washington after serious flooding left this site behind over the weekend. Tacoma was slammed with a series of rainstorms that turned this high school football stadium into a lake. That field is closed this morning. The storms also flooded streets and homes. No word on the total amount of damage just yet, but very impressive video as you saw the water just gushing over the steps there, and it looked like it was a waterfall at first, but it's not.
It's going to take a lot of cleanup, as you mentioned.